Healing Minds and Souls, a faith-based community dedicated to bringing trauma-informed care to the North Nashville community and surrounding areas through education, resources, and building relationships to develop healthy and a holistic community. Pastor Ella Clay will be talking about how we can stop allowing fear to overtake us regardless of our past, present, or future. Come and learn how to recognize signs and symptoms of trauma as we understand the emotional, physical, social, and spiritual impact of traumas. We will unpack the meanings of vicarious traumas and how to avoid moral injury as we actively avoid re-traumatizing ourselves and others. Let's learn together how to navigate life challenges of grief, trauma, pain, and/or isolation, and discover our innate strengths of courage, kindness, trust, perseverance, and become better equipped to experience a newfound confidence by not letting circumstances define our current existence or future selves. Join our show today with Pastor Ella Clay. She serves as senior pastor of the historic First Community Church and executive director of Healing Minds and Souls, 1815, Knoll Street, Nashville, Tennessee, 37208.
Good morning. Thank you so much for joining Healing Minds and Souls. This is a beautiful, beautiful day that God has made. We're here, we're rejoicing, and we're so glad in it. We're thankful for brand new mercies on today. We're thankful for all that we stand in need of. God's hands have already provided. We'll be right back with you after we hear from our sponsors.
Are you tired of missing out on North Nashville's hidden gems? Our business library is your gateway to the city's best-kept secrets. Discover local hotspots, from mouth-watering restaurants to cozy hotels, and everything in between. But we don't stop there. Tune into our exclusive podcast for insider tips and book tickets effortlessly for top venues like the Grand Ole Opry, Tennessee Performing Arts Center, and the Municipal Auditorium. And sports fans? We've got you covered too. From the Titans to the Predators, you can purchase your tickets and secure your seats. From the North Nashville Library, don't let another exciting opportunity slip away. Click the link below to unlock the full potential of North Nashville living today.
This morning, we have Alethea J. Faison, affectionately known as Alethea J., your favorite marriage and family therapist. She's a marriage and family therapist and certified life and wellness coach in Nashville, Tennessee. Overcoming her own personal trauma and challenges, Alethea has a passion for helping people heal after stressful and traumatic situations in their lives. She believes that the change is possible for everyone if empowered with tools, strategies, and a desire for improvement. Alethea hosts Change Thinking Changes and the Truth is a Facebook segment where she answers questions on mental health, faith, and relationships. Alethea is sought after facilitator on issues of faith, mental health, and healthy relationships. A native of Franklin, Virginia, Alethea was educated in the Southampton County Public School System. She earned a Bachelor of Arts Interdisciplinary Studies with concentration in sociology from Virginia State University. She also has a Master's of Arts in Religion with concentration in Pastor Counseling with Trevecca Nazarene University. And she is a marriage and family therapist, concentration in play therapy. And we want to talk a little bit about that. From Liscon University, Nashville, Tennessee. She currently is pursuing her DMFT doctorate in marriage and family therapy from North University. Alethea has 3 beautiful children. John, do you want me to tell the ages? 25. Aja, she's 23, and Jaden, 20. Alethea is a proud member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. And she is the founder and CEO of Truth Therapy Incorporated, a private virtual practice where truth makes change possible. Thank you so very much for being with me on this morning.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here with you.
Absolutely. And I must say that Alethea has always been a very, very sweet spirit, deeply spiritual, love God and love people. And I'm really grateful and proud of you, so deeply proud of you in the work that you're doing in marriage and family therapy. It's so important and for our community, and I'm grateful that our community is opening up now, having the wherewithal to know that there's help that's available. So can you talk just a little bit about that? And then also, can you explain the difference between being a wellness coach and a marriage therapy? I hear those different terminologies all the time. So can you explain the difference?
Sure. I think I love that now, things are shifting to where we're embracing mental health, especially within the church, the faith-based community, because all of us navigate mental health, whether we want to lean into it or not, but we all have mental health. I'm excited about it. I think this became more prominent a little bit before COVID, but definitely after COVID. And so you see now in society there's a lot of attention given, and there's been a lot of laws passed and programs created, for space for people to focus on their mental health and being well. So yes, I am a marriage and family therapist and also a life coach, and I often get that question, like, what's the difference? Well, marriage and family therapists or therapists, we focus on the past, the present, and the future. We focus really on childhood experiences and how that has shaped us, dealing with some of the traumas that we may have experienced in our childhood that are affecting us as adults. And then a wellness coach basically deals with the present and the future as well. And so wellness coaches really help create goals and strategies to help you become the best you that you could possibly be.
So the wellness is pretty much, from what I understand, if I'm understanding correctly, that it focuses on the individual.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And whereas the family, marriage focuses on family and marriage.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, marriage and family therapists are systems therapists. So that means we focus on the entire system. So you may be the individual coming in, but we look at how your system affects you for your change and also healing.
Wow, that's a really large work to do, and a much needed work. You said something about how you intersect what you do. You said faith, trauma, marriage, and just bringing that holistic approach. So why do you think it has been, and sometimes still is, for the faith community to look at trauma, look at the challenges that's within their lives? Why do you think the faith community has historically, and then even sometimes now, have a challenge in doing that?
So, great question. I think the faith-based community, from some of the research that I've done, well, first of all, therapy counseling started in the church. The pastor was the first counselor.
Yeah.
And so, people would come to the church, not just for their spiritual needs, but also to sit and talk about what was going on at home. There has been a stigma around faith and seeking out therapy, that, maybe my faith is not strong enough, or, I've done something wrong, or, you can't believe God's word and also have a therapist. And I think we were also socialized growing up, because I know I was, that whatever happens at home, you don't talk about it. And so essentially we're coming to church, we're worshiping God, and leaving, we're still broken. We still have challenges that we don't know how to work through them. We just don't know. Now, I love pastors, I do. Thank God for them. But some are not trained to help those navigate seasons of grief and depression when it's gone past, the normal time frame. So I think the biggest challenge that some faith-based communities have had with it is that the notion that, God can't work through a therapist. And that's absolutely untrue. God, we don't necessarily have faith in the person, but we have faith in God, and God can move through that person.
Absolutely, and we need sound counsel, don't we?
Yes.
We need individuals, again, who have been trained, who have a certain understanding of what's going on, but also they're healthy themselves. So, that's the other thing. Often, as you have said about pastors, may not have the proper training, but have assisted individuals in their lives. Sometimes it's been good, and sometimes it has not turned out in a really healthy way. So let me ask you this. In what ways do you assist individuals with diverse tools and strategies in overcoming traumas? Because our world is so deeply filled with trauma. And then I would say that there's no one that escapes this life's journey without being impacted by some level of traumas. So can you share about some of the tools or strategies? And I guess I would think too, at first I was thinking about this coming in, I had a whole lot of other questions other than what I forwarded to you. But we have to be willing, right, to recognize that there's something deeply challenging or there's an issue. So can you speak to that?
Sure. I love that you said that we have to face it.
Yeah.
The first key is acknowledging that there's something wrong, right? I think, well, as for me, when I'm working with clients and, specific area of trauma, first of all, identify what your triggers are. Identify what triggers your traumas to come up. I like to talk about, work with them from their childhood and growing up and hearing about that journey. And then whatever the traumatic event was and how it has affected them. And so some strategies may be to just process it, just talk through it, talk it out. Which is very beneficial, guided by a trained professional. You can uproot those things that have, been dormant, the sadness, the anger, surrounding those things. Also, one method of therapy I like to use is cognitive behavioral therapy, and that is basically simply helping you shift your perspective to change your behavior. So, those are some strategies that I use to help people process their traumas. And many, many more. Sometimes writing a letter to the former self, being gentle with oneself, offering grace to oneself. That's very impactful on the healing journey.
So cognitive therapy, is that the ability of helping individuals look at situations and then being able to speak to those things, and are they able to come up oftentimes with their own solutions and resolutions to challenges when using that type of therapy?
So with cognitive behavioral therapy, we really work with the thinking and the perspective. If we can shift your thinking or shift how you are currently looking at your trauma and give you tools and strategies, it will change the behavior. So it's really a shifting your perspective, shifting how you think about whatever it is that you're experiencing, changing those patterns.
And patterns are really important and a really powerful dynamic in the lives of families and individuals as well. So there have been times when I've heard people say, oh, we have a temper. This family, it just runs in the family. But there's a reason why that has happened, correct?
Excellent. Yep.
Because,
exactly.
You just don't get upset or angry or overwhelmed just because there are roots that have caused us to act and people to act the way that they do. How are you able to bring a person to a certain level of understanding when that has been taught historically and generational throughout the family, that this is just who we are, this is how we act? How are you able to help individuals
Just work through that?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so I'm glad you brought up anger. So anger is at the top of the iceberg. There's so much that's beneath: sadness, disappointment, all of those things. So when someone comes to me and, maybe they've been told that they have an anger problem or whatever, I kind of unpack that. What does your anger sound like? What does it look like? When do you feel yourself leading into anger? And then once I have a clear understanding of it, trying to help them unpack where it's coming from, and then give them tools and strategies to basically retrain themselves in how to lean into new strategies to cope with anger. And acknowledging it, it's okay. God's word says it's okay to be angry, but sin not. So basically, what are you doing with your anger?
And how is it displayed? How does it come out? Well, we have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do. And so how would you encourage an individual that has gone through a lot of deep trauma? And you said something, and even in your business, it's called Truth Therapy.
Truth Therapy Incorporated.
How, because we can all paint a certain type of perception and a picture
Right.
of what we want things to be. And oftentimes that happens because there's something that we're wanting to protect, right? It goes back to what has happened in our families. A person that have had a certain type of way of thinking, experience in life, but they're wanting to get to the point where they're really ready to do some work on themselves, how can you assist them on that? And I'm sure, too, what happens, we can vacillate in and out. We may think we're ready to deal with something. And then by the time that we get there, we're like, oh, my God, no. Let me just go back to the way that I want to think. How are you able to help people traverse through that?
Yes. So first of all, acknowledging where you are, right? Maybe I'm feeling sad a lot, okay? Dealing with whatever that sadness is. When does it typically happen, right? Is it when you first wake up in the morning? Is it when you have smell a certain fragrance? Is it a particular place? What is causing the sadness? And then unpacking that, talking about it, writing about it. I use a lot of different techniques. You brought up play therapy earlier. Using a sand tray to describe what your trauma or your sadness or anger is. Because sometimes it's hard for people to come up with the words about what they're thinking and what they're feeling. And, I do honor that. And, we use these additional strategies such as the, play therapy, the sand tray, where you can basically, show us what the sadness looks like in your mind, or show us what it sounds like.
Wow. Trauma, again, is a deep challenge. A neurologist shared with me and made me really think differently about trauma, and even people and myself, right? Individuals that have experienced trauma. As I said, all of us have experienced some form of trauma. And what I found is that when people say, oh, no, I don't have any trauma, those are the ones that have deeper levels of trauma.
Absolutely.
And I have heard that, and I'm like, okay, sometimes I don't even respond to it. But in that, again, to help people get to a different place, the ones that desire to get to the different place. You said something in your bio, and it encouraged me. It gave me hope. You stated that you believe that it's a possibility for everyone to change, the desire to change. And that was so very hopeful for me. And I'm sure individuals, women that have been through traumas, and even men that have been in traumatic relationships, when you said that there is a possibility that people can change, but they have to do some real hard work, right?
They definitely need to do some hard work, but they have to want to do the work.
Yeah.
Like grandma, mama can say, you need this or you need to do this, but it's until that person comes to the realization that there's a problem, something's not right. What I'm doing, is not working for me. And reaching out for that help, to get the help that you need so that you can change. And so I do believe that everyone has the capacity to change and heal if given the right environment, hard work, and tools and strategies. It's possible, but you got to want to do the work, though.
Yeah, it's really hard work. And I even think about even in my own life where there have been times when I've had to look at some hard things. And what I have noticed about God is so kind and so patient and so long-suffering and just gentle. that oftentimes those things I was not able to look at them until I got a certain level of healing in specific areas of my life. Because some things can really take you out if you, if you go in that deeper, those deeper hurts, those deeper pains, the deeper things, sometimes we can't even give voice to.
Right.
There's some type of things that have happened that we're not able to give voice to. And back to, I had stated the neurologist, she said that when people have been impacted by trauma, she said it affects the oratory senses in the brain, and it shuts down the communication. And as you said, you have to give different types of tools, play therapy, nature therapy, sound therapy, various different types of therapy to help them traverse through that. And so it made me even think about, gave me more grace with myself and more grace with other people.
Good.
That oftentimes that they're not just being secretive. See, I used to think, they're just being secret. But if it has impacted you so deeply, you can't even have the words to really express what you have experienced. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, so, yes, thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah.
A lot of times, and before I became a therapist, I thought this as well. Like, you know, some people seeing them being kind of introvert or off to the side, like, they're trying to be secretive. But, when were we taught skills of how to deal with trauma, sadness, anger? Because growing up, I didn't learn how to navigate those different feelings and emotions. And so we don't have the capacity to deal with it because we don't know what to do, But the thing I love about therapy is there's so many different, strategies you can use to help place a name on that feeling if you're willing to do the work. And understanding, too, that therapy is a process and it takes time. And so someone going to therapy who may not be able to name the feeling or emotion, it may take them a couple of weeks before they can do it. But of course, being in therapy, you're exposed to information. You are being told that your feelings, emotions, they are valid. Even if you don't know how to express them, they're valid. And so over time, once you get comfortable, then you're able to open up. And even if you're not able to still give it a name, you can draw, you can paint, show me what it looks like, show me what it sounds like. Maybe it's a song makes you, brings that feeling or emotion up. And so being flexible in the approach and not seeing it as one thing, like you have to speak, you have to say, what it is that you're feeling. They'll get to that at some point, but, give them an opportunity to process it in a different way.
How long do you think that it will take, and I know this is an interesting question, you may not even have an answer, but when families are going through therapy, how long does it generally take the family to get to a point where they have developed different healthier types of practices and behavior, and they have begun to change the dynamics?
So the results with that will vary, of course, depending on the extent of the trauma or whatever is going on, and the ability for the entire system to work as a system in healing. Because it can be challenging if you have 5 people who are coming into therapy, group therapy, because you're having to deal with each individual. And everyone is at a different place, and their perspective is different. So, it could take, 3 to 6 months to maybe even a year, because there may be some resistance within the system. And so that will delay the ability of healing or moving forward. So I think that the time frame depends on how bad the family wants to heal. And how hard they're going to work towards that healing.
I think it's really interesting as well as when you have a family that each one has a different perspective.
Yes.
The same house,
Right.
the same situation,
Right.
but it's seen totally different, experienced totally, felt differently. Yeah.
And I think that the perspective we have is based on our experience. So you can be in the same household and something happened, and all 5 of you have a different experience with it. And so that kind of shapes how we look at even healing
Yeah.
based on our experience.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I tell you, a lot of work to do, and I'm really grateful and thankful for the work that you are doing and that you continue to do. What would you say to a couple where one may think that they need counseling, the other spouse may not? What would you recommend to that particular couple or family? How would you navigate that?
So that's about 90% of the clients that come in. One feels like the relationship needs help and, needs to come to therapy.
Yeah.
And the other one's like, I'm fine. There's nothing wrong.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when that situation comes, I hear both perspectives. I listen. And what I do is I ask each one, what is your experience with whatever the problem is? And sometimes having them both coming in and have that neutral party to ask the right questions will draw out what is needed and maybe give the other partner who wasn't necessarily wanting therapy or needing, feel like they need therapy, kind of see, oh, this is really what's going on. Yeah.
And so just occurred to me that the spouse is saying nothing is wrong in their mind.
Mm-hmm.
It may not really be anything wrong according to their environment, their ethos, and how they grew up. It could be better. So with a spouse that's seeing that there are challenges and there are some things that we have to work on, may have possibly grown up in a different type of environment.
Right.
And so has an idea that what's taking place now is not really acceptable or healthy.
Right.
And so, just navigating that.
Mm-hmm. So I believe we don't know until we know.
Yeah. Wow.
And what I like to also talk to my couples about is they both were reared differently. They both have different experiences with whatever the topic is. And so listening to each other and listening to how, they were raised to process it, and then looking at it as, does it function well for your relationship? Because you're not your mom and dad.
Yeah.
You're not grandma and grandpa. You're not them. So then, taking some of what you learned growing up, the healthy parts, incorporating it into your relationship.
So I'm thinking now, and I'm laughing because it came to me in two ways. So why do we become attracted to something that's opposite than us? And oftentimes opposite to everything that we experience. And we try to come together in relationships, and it can be a train wreck. What is that about? And I said God, and then I said us, because oftentimes we're doing it ourselves.
Honestly, I do not know why opposites attract, but I often see that. It's just something, I guess it's love or attraction, which draws them together. But 98% of my couples are totally different.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think that, they would connect and be in a relationship. But, it could be a person is drawn to the light that they see.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what is their foundation.
Yeah.
And they move in that way. And it's okay to be different. I think that we need to embrace more our individuality rather than trying to make your partner conform to what you think,
Yes.
it is right or is healthy. But, giving room and space for them, to express, so.
Yeah, I think we always say that we were made in the image of God and after God's likeness. However, I think we want to make people that's in relationships want to make that part in the image of how they want them to be made and
Right.
be created in that image.
Right.
But it's something, too, that's stated and even felt and experienced that you can balance that. Like one person may have strengths, another person may have challenges, but to be able to balance those things is really what makes the wholeness of a healthy relationship, so that you can thrive and accomplish and be all that God has called you to be and all that you think that you need to be, if we're able to balance that. So that's what you're going to do. You're going to help the world do work better and have healthy and holistic relationships.
I'm trying one person at a time.
Well, you know what? It's long as we keep trying, we're
Right.
doing what God has called us to do. Listen, what do you do for healthcare? So healthcare, soul care. What do you do for downtime? Because the work that you're doing can be heavy. And I was thinking about how that therapists and wellness coaches, sometimes you experience vicarious traumas.
Secondhand trauma, yeah.
So how do you work through that, and how do you shake that stuff off after you've heard something that was just so deeply overwhelming? And I'm sure that sometimes you're like, okay, I've heard everything, but then you'll have another therapy session, and you're like, oh my God. So how are you able to navigate all of that?
Great question. So the very first class that we're taught in therapy school is self-care.
Okay.
Because we are going to be sitting with people sometimes at their best and sometimes at their worst. And we can't say that we're numb because we are affected by what it is that we're hearing. If a therapist said that it doesn't penetrate their heart, I would say go get another therapist.
Yeah.
Because you want an empathetic, compassion therapist. But what I do to take care of myself mentally, emotionally, and physically is creating routines. So I do put some boundaries up around, we carry a lot of weight as therapists.
Yeah.
And so one thing that I like to do after very difficult sessions, and even before the session, is I like to pray. I like to pray. I ask God to prepare my mind, my heart, and my spirit to be able to speak to this person who may be going through challenges. And then when they share their heart, sometimes I'm led to pray for them in session if they're okay with exploring spirituality and their journey of change. And then sometimes after my session, I'll just say a quick prayer, and I'm like, God, this don't belong to me, so I'm giving it to you because you're ultimately the one who can work this out for them. But one thing that I do for self-care is I do have a live that I do every Monday morning called Command Your Day with Alethea J. And I teach my followers to get up a little bit earlier than you normally do and command what it is that you desire to see in your day, your week, your month, and your year. You set the tone for your day based on what it is that you do. And so I like to get up early. I love devotion time. I love worship time. So taking the time to command what it is I desire, spending some time in the Word, and I also have a therapist.
That's good. That's
No?
good. It's in
And-
order.
Yeah, because I need to release.
Absolutely.
And then I have a personal life as well. And so, I can't be absent emotionally for myself or even my family just because I am a therapist. And so there's balance there. But my self-care routine is, of course, being gentle with myself, offering myself grace, doing things that are filling to me, that make me happy, that give me joy, taking walks. I love to sit sometime in silence and reflect, but also when I sit in silence, it's typically when God is speaking to me. And so that's an amazing experience. I'm sure you've had it as well. And so in those moments, I feel Him healing me and giving me whatever it is that I need. So I have a lot of different self-care strategies that I try to incorporate and be consistent with to make sure that I am present, not just for other people, but also for myself.
Just listening to you just made me experience a sense of peace and calmness, even in that. So thank you. You brought me down to a different place. So it's working. It's working. Let me ask you, if individuals wanted to get in contact with you, how could they find you? And could you share?
Yes, so if you are interested in exploring the journey of change through therapy, you can also reach out to me at www.truththerapyinc.com. You can leave me a message or you can schedule an appointment with me.
Thank you so much. So thank you again for the work that you're doing. What would be your final words to our audience on today?
Take care of yourself, be gentle with yourself and others.
That's right. Be gentle with yourself. Take care of yourself. Love yourself. Because God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, and whosoever believeth in him, we shall not perish. We can't perish, but we'll have everlasting life. And not only is that important as it relates to eternal life, but we want to desire and have life here on earth and have it more abundantly. And we can do that with self-care. We can do that with individuals that come alongside of us, helping us in the healing journey. Thank you so much for being with us. We'll see you again on next week.